Thank you so much for coming. So I understood that you're all students that are going to do like a study placement abroad, or is there any work placement on you? Yes, I see some nodding back there. Okay, so I will talk about both administrative requirement. Well, first of all, yes, so my presentation will cover sort of like both the administrative requirement you have to do before going to France, and then all the sort of advice, recommendation about what you need to do once you're there, and also every kind of tips that can help you to enjoy your student experience whilst in France. So I will introduce you to a very dreadful thing called the Accommodation France platform, which is a thing you need to go to and register on to get to, your visa for France. Then I will cover the administrative requirement more directly related to the visa, the accommodation, and then I will talk about life in France. But first of all, because I don't know what is your level of knowledge regarding like how French higher education works, I'm just going to like briefly introduce to you the French higher education system. So it works quite similarly to the British higher education system. So first we have the equivalent of the bachelor, which is called the licence, and I think most of you will be among courses that are given in licence 3. And then we have the equivalent of a master's degree, but in France it's more 2 years than 1. And most of the time, well, it depends, but people can do like a PhD in 3 years, and it's called the doctorat. But unlike the higher education in the UK, French higher education is like divided between university, but also what we call grandes écoles or écoles d'ingénieurs, but they're all kind of on a similar level. There is no like graduation or rankings between those. They're all very good quality, and they just work a bit differently. Some are private, some are public. Universities are mostly public, but not every specialty, like engineering courses, for instance, are not part of the university curriculum. So that's why some of you might go to schools and not universities. So since 2019, there's been like a very, very big effort from French government to like try and improve the welcoming of international students, and there is a growing community of international students in the UK, in the French higher institutions. So we have about 50% of international students in French universities, and in business school, engineering school, we have about the same percentage. So you will all be a part of a very diverse environment, and that should be really exciting. So you know, our university have gathered recently to form bigger universities. So they used to be really scattered. Every city used to have like their own local university, and what they did is that they kind of formed bigger institutions so they could go higher in the rankings and become more research oriented and really have sort of like an international be renowned internationally, and that has worked really well. So some very good universities are now in the international rankings quite high, so we're pleased about that. Well, now that you know a bit more about where you're going to go, I'm just going to tell you how you're going to get there. Hang on with me, because it's, well, quite a procedure, as you know, French people are known for having a habit of having a really hard administrative life, but it's really feasible and everything's going to go smoothly. So first, it's the Accommodation France platform. So that has been introduced post-Brexit. Is like sort of like the first step that you need to take before asking for your visa. So it's a platform on which you need to register if you're meeting like these 3 requirements. So if you're going to France for more than 90 days, because if you're going for less than 90 days, you don't need a visa. If you're an EU citizen, so if like you have an Irish passport, or if you have French or whatever, you don't need to get a visa to go to France. So don't bother with this first part that I'm showing you. And also only if you are going through a study placement, so work placement, you don't need to register on that. So why are we asking you to register on this? Because it's a formality that will be reviewed by my office, the Campus France office, and we are going just to give a brief check of your your academic background, and it's sort of like a pre-consular phase that will facilitate the job of the consulate after. So what we do is that we review the file, your file, and then we issue a registration confirmation, and it gives you an EEF number, so Études en France number, and those are things that will be asked from you in your final visa form. So just a few, like it's a very easy form to fill online, but just if you like, I have some questions that come back to me quite often, so I'm just going to give you the tip right now. You have to select your program manually. You have like not manually, but you have like you can start typing your program, and then you should have like a list of programs that show up, and you should be able to select the program you're going to in France. But if like the university you're going to doesn't show up, you can also, there is like a small box that you can tick that say I can't find my program in the catalog, and you can type it manually, because sometimes students seem to think that if they don't find that program in the list, it means that they can't register. You can. Then you just enter the date of your program, and you write just like a short sentence saying I'm going there in partnership with Sheffield University, and that's it. We don't ask you, like, it's called motivation, but we don't ask you to really elaborate into that. We will ask you some supportive documents, some of them being either copies of your records here at Sheffield University, or a proof of enrollment. What we really need is just to prove that you are indeed a student from Sheffield University. So it just needs to have like a stamp or a signature from your university. And then you need to fill in what we call the language section, and this language section will ask you for a French test that you don't need to put into it. It's not mandatory. We trust university with whatever language requirement you need for going abroad, so we're not double checking this. So in order to validate this section, what you need to do is just to put like your level of French or level of English. You don't need to put another additional supported document. Well, once all this is done, you just submit your application. This is a summary of what I've just said. So this is what you need: your passport, proof of enrollment, also your letter of acceptance at your French higher institution. And if you're going abroad with a grant or a scholarship, Erasmus or Turing, you will see there is like a small box that you can tick as well. And it's very important because I will get to that, but the platform has a fee, which is £90, and if you're going with, like, for instance, an Erasmus grant, you are exempt of grants. That is decided by the French administration. This is not something that I just came up with. So, how to finalize your registration? Well, you will be asked to pay the fees if you are not exempt from the fees, and you will be able to do it via like a bank transfer. And once we receive your payment, once it's accepted, we issue an email with the registration of confirmation. So that can seem a bit tedious, but once you are on the platform, it's quite smooth. Once this is done, you have to move to the proper visa requirement, because it was sort of like a warm-up for the fun parts. So you then move to a website called France Visa, on which you will select the student's visa part of the website. Oh, I forgot to say that all the slides will be transferred to you, and they have click-through links. So each time that a word is underlined, you can just click on the link, and it will like bring you to the Études en France platform, bring you to the France Visa website. So that should just ease your way into all these requirements. So you fill in the France Visa form. It's more administrative oriented. It will ask for your EEF number, and then you will book a final appointment to the TLS contact center. So it's like our commercial partner that you want to go to like hand your documents and require your visa, because we need also to get your biometrics. So there are like 3 TLS centres in the UK. There's one in London, one in Manchester, and one in Edinburgh. So you will need to get to one of these centres. So what I would advise you to do, you have to require your visa at least 3 weeks before leaving for France, because after it would be like quite short for you, and you could be a bit late because sometimes there is delay in the visa process. But you can start applying about 3 months before departure, and I would advise you to do it as soon as possible, because then you just have time. Especially because you need to book this appointment, and it can be quite busy, especially because all of the students from like every universities are going to France in September, so they will have lots of appointments taken quite quickly. On the part for the visa, so on France Visa, you will need to give your passport, or I forgot to mention that it needs to be valid for the whole duration of your stay in France. For instance, we won't, like the consulate won't accept a passport that will like with an expiration date during your year abroad, because you like the visa on your platform hence wouldn't be valid anymore. So if you see that your passport is going to expire during your stay in France, please redo your passport in the UK right now. You will need to assess of a financial resources from about €615 per month. So you will need to have like a proof of those finance, either like from like your bank, an extract of your bank account, or like one of your parents' bank accounts. So we know that you are students and you often are not able to have like this kind of money yourself. And also, if you have a grant with the university and that they are going to give you some money during your year, you can also put that as a proof of finance. The visa form will also ask for you like for a proof of accommodation. We know that you won't have an accommodation prior to go to France. I mean, sometimes you will, but most likely you won't. So what the consulate will require from you is a proof of renting for like the first 3 weeks you are going to be in France. So then you just have to also add a letter saying, this is my plan for finding an accommodation, I will have an accommodation from my university, or I will rent an apartment. It doesn't need to be really elaborate, we know how it works, it's just to be sure that you will have a place to go to for your first weeks in France. And of course, they will also ask you for the Études en France confirmation. If you are going for a work placement, so your journey starts here, you are not going to the Études en France platform. So you are going on France Visa website, you are selecting the student trainee visa, and you are then filling the form, booking an appointment, same process, same timeline, but instead of your études en France confirmation, what you need is your internship agreement signed by you, yourself, your university, and the French employee that's having you in France, so the French company or, that you're going to work for. And it needs to be approved by French administration, but that's not on you. The internship agreement needs to be approved by French administration, but your employer has to do it. So normally, they should have sent the internship agreement to the French administration, and it should be out of your hands. Just maybe check that they did it, but it's not for you to do it. There is a video that apparently won't appear with us today. But it's okay because we'll get the slides, and anyway, the videos are just a very detailed guide through what I'm going to say, so you will just look at them at home. So once you've asked for your visa, my first advice for you would be to start looking for an accommodation. You will find a list of the place you can look into here, so different type of website and stuff. Also check with your university if they have students accommodation for international students. Most of like new big universities I've mentioned now have accommodation for international students. And also, so a thing that can really help you through your search is because like to rent an apartment, landlords will ask for you for deposits, and with this website, Visale, you can, as an international student, get a free rental deposit. So it's like a paper that they will give you that will testify that you're an international student, and like French administration will pay the deposit for you. You won't have to pay anything. So you have to apply online before your arrival. They will ask if you have a visa. You just tick yes because you will get one. And there is a video that you'll be able to read once you get the slides, and that will get you every single steps that I will not dive into today. So then about health. So there are like two things you can do to be sure that you have like a health insurance and a protection for you while in France. So there used to be these things called the European Health Insurance Card that still, maybe some of you still have, and if it's not expired, you can use that in France. It's still possible despite Brexit. And if not, you can now require what is called the Global Health Insurance Card. It works exactly the same. It's just the new version of the European Health Insurance Card. You can require your Global Health Insurance Card from the British government. I've put the link here. So you won't be able to get refunded whilst in France, but you will also need to keep every invoices from like health care that you will receive throughout your time in France, but then you will be able to get refunded whilst back in the UK. So we also advise you to get travel insurance and a private complementary healthcare. So you're like 100% cover, and especially something that will cover the fees in case of like you need to be brought back to the UK in case of emergency. So that's quite important. What you can also do is register to the French free healthcare. So this is like completely free for international students, and France recommend that you do register to the French free healthcare. But if you have, again, the European Health Insurance Card or the Global Health Insurance Card, I wouldn't do it, and we don't recommend you do it. I mean, you can do it, but it's just a bit more complicated. You need to gather lots of documents, including an official translation of your birth certificate, So if you are not going to get a global health insurance card in time, do it so you're covered. It's very important that if one or the other you have like a health protection whilst in France. But if you have the card, don't do it. And again, there is a video that will explain to you everything, but that doesn't appear there. Okay, so before going, one useful thing that you can do is to locate your welcome desk. So every big university or every big student city nowadays has what we call welcome desks. So they're like temporary desk at the beginning of the year where a student can go and like basically they will give you every information that you need regarding every aspect of your student life in France. So they will give you local information for you. They will give you information about the local university service, about students' help, like student discounts that can run in your city, about administrative things, where you can go, like the post, the bank. They will give you deals with complementary health care insurance if you don't have one yet. They will also link you to student unions. Most of the time they organize Welcome Week for international students with lots of events. They also have like buddy program to pair you with French students at the beginning of the year. So there is a list of the welcome decks that I've put in the link there. And if your university don't appear there, make sure that you Google that before leaving, because they're 100% in every big city there is one. So that can be really useful to have a place to go first time you arrive. So that is a slide that is not really useful anymore. It's just about COVID. So basically France is pretty much lifting every COVID requirement at the moment. So you shouldn't meet any problem. What I would always advise you to have is obviously your NHS COVID pass on your phone. It may be asked at some point, but it's not really checked anymore. But you know, we don't know what's going to come up. So just still be sure that you download your travel NHS COVID pass. So once you're in France, after doing all of these fun things before leaving, the first, yet again, administrative requirement is to validate your student visa, because your student visa is not validated yet. It will be once you're in France. So you can do it online, and it's quite thorough again. You just click there and you just do it, but you have to do it during your first 3 months in France. Otherwise it won't be valid. You will have to ask for another visa, and it will be like a very tedious thing to go through during your student year abroad. So just like validate your student visa first thing, so that's out of the way. I'm going to go more quickly through this. So if you want to, because with your student visa you can have a job, you can work for about like 60, like your time working shouldn't be longer than 60% of your time studying. So it means that you can like work between like 10 or 20 hours a week, depending on how much you're studying in France. So if you are working, you might want to open a bank account in France, so you can receive your wage. So again, if you go to your welcome desk at the beginning of the year, they will probably give you the best deals that local banks have for international students. There is a video that will also, once you get the slides, dive into this in details. But that might be really useful for you if you're doing like a student job. And finally, don't forget to really look into every little benefits that you can get as a student in France. So there are lots of discounts for sports activity, cultural activities. There are like very good cinema deals. There are also lower costs for traveling. With your visa, you can travel in the whole Schengen area without any further requirements. There is a card for students for the local rail service. So there is a very good railroad network in France. So please enjoy it to visit this beautiful country once you're there. If you want to look into every single benefit you can enjoy, there is a link there with a very detailed website. So just that should ease your life a lot. Finally, a tiny word about health and security. So it's very important to know that sometimes a year abroad can be challenging. You can have some time of loneliness, and it's okay, and it doesn't have to be a burden. If you are at a low point of the year and you need to talk to somebody, we have service for international students that are free, so please remember that and go check things on this link. There is an article with every resources you can turn into or dive into. Just don't let a moment like a low point in your year waste the rest of the year, because your road is challenging but a beautiful experience, so there is no reason for you to not enjoy it. Again, if you need recommendation for health and health insurance, more information under this link, and this is useful number if you need to contact the emergency service. Finally, after or during your time in France, you can register on France Alumni, which is a network that we're going to launch in September 2022, in September basically. So it's a network that will connect the whole UK-based alumni that went to France at some point and that want to share, keep sharing a link with France and want to gather through events that we will organize with the embassy for people that went to France. So there should be like at least 2 events a year, and it's also a network on which we put like work opportunity, internship opportunity and stuff, so you might want to look into that while you're in France or when you come back. And finally, just a word, if you before or after your time in France, there are like many short programs, summer programs that are offered by universities, so there's like a whole catalogue that you can go through. And if you're like looking for French intensive courses to just strengthen your French before going, or after, there are like 3 weeks to like 2-month programs offered like pretty much everywhere in France, and it's accessible without a visa, so it's also like a nice way to keep in touch with French and France. And this is our contacts in London, so if you have any personal question for your experience in France or things that you don't want to ask right now, you can also send us an email. We have a website, and we do personal appointments. We're really here like we're based in London, but we're here for like every UK students that are willing to do mobility in France. So please get in touch, and thank you for listening to me. I know it was a bit long, but if you have any question, that's your moment.
So the question I have is, for those who are in a different passport besides British, I've traveled on a Philippine passport, and that's the passport that expired last year, which I luckily was able to renew last November, so it's on. So if I travel, when I travel on a Philippine passport, is there any? I just can't remember the requirements for the was it the France visas, the student visa requirement. Did it say that for one of them, if you're traveling on a On a non-EU passport, that's one of the requirements. Is that correct?
Yes, so everything I've said applies to UK citizen as well as just not every EU, non-EU passport. So since you're based in the UK, you just have to follow this exact procedure and you go on like étudiant français as everybody else and it's just the same for you.
Okay. And my other question is, because I do both Spanish and French,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do the French on the second semester. If I were to, and it said you have to apply for the visa 3 months before you come in, is there going to be a complication because I might be in Spain around that time?
Okay, so in that case, you need to contact directly the French consulate and you need to email them by saying, okay, so I need to ask for my visa before this date because I'm going to be in Spain and obviously you're going to have like a Spanish visa as well, but like consulate will know more about like if this, I don't think the Spanish visa can cover your time in France. So you will probably need to ask for the French visa whilst still in the UK. So then you can ask for like an exception and just explain them why, and then we'll say like, yeah, no.
Specific difference between a short stay visa and a student visa, or is that the same thing?
There is no short stay visa. You will get a student visa that is the equivalent of like a long stay visa. So it's usually issued for like a year or so. So it should last between like 10 or 12 months. So it gives you a bit of time, for instance, to like travel before or after, because we just do like long student.
And the proof of finance, is that just going to be a bank statement?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it can be yours or your parents.
Either.
So with the program where you can get a free deposit, is that,
Yes.
do you have to pay that back at all, or is it completely free?
No, it's completely free.